Hey, track fans, it's me, your girl HP. I am back with you with another episode of Jamaica Track and Field Legacy. Yes, I am here again. But before I get into this episode, which is a continuation of our men and their dominance, I just want to make a quick correction. In episode one, I did say that it was Leslie who picked up an injury while running in the 4 by 400 meters relay in 1948. I'm sorry, but it wasn't Mr. Leslie. It was actually Mr. Arthur Wind who had won the 400-meter prior to running in the relay. So please forgive me. I get excited over track and field information, and it's a lot of information, so please forgive me. So now let us move on. Thank you very much. In episode one, I did talk about Jamaica's legacy, how it started, who were the pioneers, the birth of the Jamaica versus USA rivalry, and of course World War II and how it impacted 1940, the 1940 Olympics and the 1944. So now we're going to get into the continuation because, it's a lot of information and I'm just trying to highlight the some of the main people who has done a lot for us and moving on and stuff. So in the 1960s and the 1970s, it was Lennox Miller and Donald Quarry. Yes, it was Lennox Miller and Donald Quarry who led the charge for Team Jamaica in the 60s and the 70s, and taking us into what you would call a new chapter where mining medals only got better for Jamaica. And yes, they did win medals for Jamaica. But by the 1980s, Donald Quarry was still there and uh, he led a new generation. He captained the ship. He steered the train. He was the mature person going into the 80s, leading a generation with people like Bert Cameron. No, Bert Cameron is one of Jamaica's top quarter miler. Yes, Bert Cameron is the first world champion at 400 meters, not just Jamaica's first world champion in the 400, but overall for the entirety of the championship. Bert Cameron is the first world champion at 400 meters. In that era, we also had the likes of Raymond Stewart. Raymond Stewart, Mr. Camperdown. He is from Camperdown High School, the Sprint Factory, as we used to call it back in the days. I have some Camperdown friends. If they hear me, they're going to be very upset. But Camperdown was once known as the Sprint Factory. And also in that era, we had people like Gregory Megoo, Norman Edwards, among a lot of other athletes in that era. And of course, these men had Jamaica's name being called at every Olympics. Every Olympics, these men had Jamaica's name being called. They're winning gold medal, they're winning silver medal, they're being competitive and competing with the rest of the world. Of course, the reign continues with the likes of Howard Burnett, Trevor Graham, and we're still in the 80s coming into the 90s. Devon Morris, Howard Davis, Winthrop Graham, James Beckford, Danny McFarlane. What can I say about Danny McFarlane? If you did not know Danny McFarlane before 2004 Athens Olympics, after 2004 Athens Olympics, you would know who Danny McFarlane is. Danny is so brave. He is a lionheart. Danny switched from the 400 meters to the 400-meter hurdles. And let me tell you something, track fans. Danny won a silver medal for Jamaica by running his own race, running his own technique. And let me tell you something, in Jamaica, we celebrated with Danny. I mean, it it was brilliant what he did, and of course, as I said before, we won um, a well-deserved silver medal. He won for himself and his country. Other outstanding athletes in that era, our team were looking at Mr. Fortis. Mr. Fortis, Davian Clark. Yes, my good friend Davian Clark, the Fortis man. He was a part of that uh, era. He was a part of that team in the early 2000s, early 21st century. There was Michael McDonald. There was Gregory Horton, another cool person, Christopher Williams, among many others. No, these guys, let me tell you something. These guys, when they are on Jamaica's 4x4 team, we know say we are going to win something. There's no joke about it. We know say we are going to win something. We are going on the podium. These guys, they were so, we could depend on these guys no matter how bad the situation looked. These guys were bringing home the bacon. Yes, of course, the new era happened. The middle of the 21st century coming forward happened. And let me tell you, a lot of stars were born. And I'm not talking about just athletes, I'm talking about some stars, some serious, competitive, brilliant, accomplished stars were born. And of course, to me, the playing field in the 21st century, it was leveled, and Jamaica, and I'm going to say this, and I don't know if I'll be ridiculed for it, but I think Jamaica was the team, or is the team, that raised the bar ridiculously high. And when I talk about this, even though I'm not talking about the women as yet, I'm talking about the likes of Veronica Campbell Brown, who led the charge for the women, Shelley and Fraser Price. We're talking about Elaine Thompson here, Karen Stewart, Sharon Simpson, all these women, Aileen Bailey, Beverly McDonald, you name them. But of course, I'm going to stay focused because it's not the ladies' time yet. I'm still on the men, so I'm going to stay focused on the men. And of course, coming into the mid 21st century, as I said, we had people like Maurice Green, Maurice Smith from Calabar. You had Michael Blackwood, Sanjay Eyre, Brandon Simpson, Steve Mullins, along with the sub 10 king, Asafa. Now, anybody who doesn't know that Asafa is known as the sub 10 king is not watching track and field. And when I say, and I'm sure a lot of people might not be aware, but Asafa competed at Boys Champs. A lot of people, I've heard people saying, oh, Asafa didn't compete at Champ. He did. But the thing about Asafa is that he competed at Boys Champs in 2000, and he did not advance to the next level. Yes, it's the truth. He did not. He did not. He came back in 2001, and 2001, when he came back, he made the finals of the 100 meters and he finished seventh. Yes, he finished seventh. But of course, by 2002, Asafa was on the Jamaica team competing at the Commonwealth Games. He went to the Commonwealth 2002, and of course, he came back with a silver medal with the Jamaican team. By 2003, Asafa had made a name for himself to the point where he was one of the favorites to win the 100 meter at the World Championships in 2003, but unfortunately, he was disqualified. But just to fast forward now to the birth and the rise of the dream team. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that Asafa was burning up the track and he brought the world record back to Jamaica. Yes, he did. 2005, he brought back the world record to Jamaica, 9.77, and he equaled that same record twice. And by 2007, which is 2 years after, he lowered the world record to 9.74. So the world record was in Jamaica from 2005 to 2007 by Asafa Powell. Now, if we are watching track and field, we know what happened 2008. Mr. Bolt happened in the 100 2008. And before I get to Usain Bolt and the rest of the dream team, I just want to explain what sub 10 king means. What sub 10 mean is that sub 10 is has to do with running the 100 meter below 10 seconds. So sub 11 would mean that you run below 11 seconds. Sub 10 means you run below 10 seconds. Asafa Powell, Jamaican sprinter, he ran sub 10 in the 100 meter, meaning running below 10 seconds more than any other athlete in the sport. Yes, he has done it 97 times. It's ridiculous. 97 times he has ran a sub 10 in the 100 meters throughout his career. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, like Donald Quarry that led Bert Cameron and company into the 80s and so forth, Safa Powell, I will say, led the men into the 21st century. And of course, quickly after that, he was joined by the likes of the brilliant, brilliant talents of Michael Frater, Nesta Carter, Johan Blake, and one Mr. Usain Saint Leo Bolt. Yes, that's the dream team. I call them the dream team because the talent that these men have, it is crazy for one team to have this depth of talent. It is five of them, and we could only use four at any given time in a relay. So at all times, one of them is left off the relay team. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So, if any country was thinking about lowering or touching the world record, these men made sure or ensure that the record was at a certain level where it would be hard. It is going to be hard to beat. The 100 meters, the 200 meters, and the 4x1 is going to be very hard to beat. And these men, this dream team, they have been a nightmare for sprinters for more than a decade. Yes, it was hard for them to get around these men. Crazy, crazy. I mean, team team Jamaica, the little island Jamaica has three of the fastest top five men in the world. Yes, we're talking about Usain Bolt, we're talking about Johan Blake, and we're talking about Asafa Powell. Crazy. And the thing about it, all of these men, these five men on the dream team, they all have won individual medals for Jamaica. Yes, they have. Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, Nesta Carter, Michael Frater, Asafa Powell. They all have won individual medals. So they are not just relay medalists, they are individual and me relay medalists. The depth is just crazy. If any, there's no other country that can boast this right now, that they have in the top five. They have more than two or um, three top runners in the 100 meter. But Jamaica can see they have three. So now, looking at the world records, as I said before, Jamaica has the 100, the 200, and the 4x1. The 100 and the 200 was set by Usain Bolt, yes, Mr. Usain Bolt, at the Berlin World Championships in 2009, setting the 100 meters at 9.58, the 200 meters at 19.19, and the 4 by 100 meter relay, the record is set at 36.84. Can anyone tell me when was this record set? This record was set at the London Olympic Games in 2012. And I'll tell you why this is a big deal to people like me. The Olympic Games 2012, Jamaica was celebrating 50 years of independence. Yes, it was Jamaica 50, so it was a big deal. As Christopher Martin would say, it was a big deal. It is a big deal for us, and it was a big deal because we were celebrating 50 years, and it was just celebration all over Jamaica, all over the world, wherever Jamaicans were. We were celebrating 50 years of independence, and and the beauty about this accomplishment from our team on the track is that they were in London, in Great Britain, at the World Championship. They were in England at the World Championship, dominating for Jamaica, who was celebrating 50 years of independence from the British Empire. Wow. Crazy, crazy. So the 4 by 100 meter relays, just to stay on track with track and field, the 4 by 100 meter relay record was set at the London Olympics in 2012. The saying that says teamwork makes a dream work is so true. It is so true because Johan Blake uh, Johan Blake cushioned our world record. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Bolt is at the top with 9.58 and 19.19. Johan is second with 9.69 that Bolt ran at the Beijing Olympics in the 100 and 19.26 in the 200. So for anyone to get to the world record at the top, they have to come over. They have to get to Johan first before they can get to Bolt. Wow. Wow, that is just amazing, amazing. And there are so many outstanding athletes in recent times that also contributed to the male side of things. We're talking about Nikhil Ashmead. We're talking about Warren Weir, Jason Morgan, Frederick Dacus, Travis Michael, Tajay Gill, Ricardo Chambers, Jermaine Gonzalez, Isa Phillips, Marvin Anderson. Oh my God, I could sit here all night and call names, and coming into the latter part of, or should I say more current, we're talking about people like Hansel Parchment, Olympic champion. We're talking about Ronald Levy, who won a bronze medal in that same race that Hansa Parchment won the Olympic title at the Tokyo Olympic Games in 2021. We're talking about Omar McLeod. Omar McLeod, an outstanding Olympic champion and also a world champion. No, you can hear, I'm sure you hear me getting excited because the name and the talent they just keep coming. We're talking about Nathan Allen, Dane Richards. We're talking about Akeem Bloomfield, Christopher Taylor, oblique civil, who are some of the most current and young athletes who are coming up. The male pool is just so rich and full of talent. The male pool is filled with talent. So here we have it for the male section of their contribution to Jamaica's track and field. We look at who the pioneers were, when it started, the rivalry between Jamaica and the United States, how it started, who started it, and it is it is just amazing where Jamaica is. And remember, I did tell you in episode 1 that coming to the 1980 Olympic Games, the men, the Jamaican men, on the medal table, the Jamaican men had 12 medals, gold, silver, and bronze, 12 medals, and the women have zero or had zero. The men had 12 and the women had zero coming into the 1980 Olympics. So, in episode 3, we are going to segue to the women. And of course, we're going to talk about the women, the dominance of the women, the pioneers, and the competitiveness between Jamaica and the Americans. So join me for episode 3 when we look at the Jamaican women contribution and their dominance in track and field. So remember to follow me, like, share, and remember to come back for more because we're now going to look at the women. And if you've been following track and field, the women, and remember what I said. Coming into 1980 Olympics, and I want you to make note of this information. Coming into 1980, the men were at 12 medals, the women were zero. So 12 none, 12 nil, however you want to look at it. And as I said before, in episode 3, next week, we will be looking at the dominance and the contribution of our women. Walk good, and thank you. HP checking out. Thanks.